Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, we find out why the Rock Foundation are jumping for joy, and we look at why horse riders are campaigning for safety on the roads. And joining me in the studio to review the papers is Ian Lovell, Communications Director from North East Lincolnshire Council. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Riches. First of all, it's over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello there. Services between Hull and London are set to benefit after the East Coast Rail franchise was awarded to Stagecoach and Virgin. Users of the service will see upgraded train interiors between next year and 2017 and will be served by new high-speed IEP trains from 2020. These will provide a more reliable service, faster journey times, improved Wi-Fi and more seats. And there are hopes that the London to Lincoln direct service could be extended to Cleethorpes too. Lord Haskins, chair of the Humber LEP, has said the south bank of the Humber is experiencing unprecedented interest from investors, with new and growing businesses locating to sites on the biggest enterprise zone in the country. Immingham Swimming Pool closes on Sunday for a £1.45 million refurbishment. It will mean better changing facilities and a bigger gym, while they also carry out vital mechanical work and fix the failing roof. It's part of a wide raft of leisure improvements in North East Lincolnshire, including a new pool in Grimsby's Cromwell Road.
It's further investment into our leisure centres. As I'm sure most people are aware, we've a big investment in the Cleethorpes Leisure Centre. We're just about starting to work on the new Grimsby pool, and this is the last bit of exceptionally project work to bring our leisure centres up to a fantastic standard.
There's been an excellent response from the local community over the returning Hull Marathon. The event hasn't been run since 2012, when there was an error regarding the length of the course, and it is hoped the new event, being organised by a different team, will be a popular addition to the city's calendar. Around 300 people have already signed up, and it's hoped 2,000 people will be on the start line on Sunday, September the 13th next year.
There was a Hull Marathon in 2012, and it wasn't revived the following years, but we thought now, especially with the City of Culture coming up, that now was the time to do it. And I think there's a great deal of demand in the local running community and further afield for a big event of this kind in the Hull and East Yorkshire area.
That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Richard. The Rock Foundation, based in Grimsby, helps young people and adults with learning disabilities to develop life skills and self-esteem. Over the summer, the charity moved into new premises on Heneage Road, but they were still looking for funding to keep themselves afloat. Now the charity has won a grant, and Dave Nunn went back to the foundation to see what might change.
The Rock Foundation in Grimsby has been riding a wave all year after moving into a new premises. Now they're just reaching the crest.
Well, basically, we wanted more resources for our students, and this was a way of being able to open up a complete new world for them, really. And this money is just going to be, wow, I don't think any of us can really say what it's going to mean to them.
The foundation was in need of funding when Pamela decided to enter the People's Millions, a TV game show where the audience votes between two competing charities to receive a grant. Rock Foundation won on Tuesday, receiving a grant of £50,000.
So it will be 6 design computers and laser machine and embroidery machine, and that will take up the whole of the £49,000. And, you know, just to have a computer, that doesn't matter if they can use a keyboard, doesn't matter if they can use a mouse, they can still draw on it and then press a button and they can have it on an embroidery machine, they could have a t-shirt made, or they could go on the laser machine and they could produce something in plastic or pens or something in woodwork or even the material. It's just going to be phenomenal, and they're going to be producing good quality, high quality presents and things for their families.
The Tech Ability Project is just part of the work that the Rock Foundation does for its ever-expanding user base of all ages and abilities.
It is going well, yes. We had a 20% increase when we moved in, and I think it's surprising how many people still don't know we're here. And it's just a fabulous resource for people with learning disabilities. And again, what we forget so much, it's a benefit it's making to the whole family. You know, to the parents as well. It enables them to have some respite as well. And we forget the impact that Rock has on the whole family, not just on the students who come here, but it has a whole impact on the family as well.
With the expansion of the Rock Foundation over the last year and increased publicity due to appearing on the People's Millions, it's hoped that Rock gets the attention and, more importantly, funding it needs to continue helping the people who need it the most.
You're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, we follow the Lord Mayor of Hull. All mayors are born free, but everywhere we find them in chains. And Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. My guest today for the paper review is Ian Lovell, Director of Communications at North East Lincolnshire Council. Ian, many thanks for coming in.
It's a pleasure.
You happy about that news about the Rock Foundation?
Yes, I think it's terrific news. You know, we were asked to help support their drive to get the grant, and I just think it's a great scheme. They're doing some terrific work, and good luck to them.
What have you found in the newspapers, Ian?
There's a range of things. The first one, in the Louth Leader, a story about the consultation by the Lincolnshire Police and Crime Commissioner, Alan Hardwick. It's about trying to get some views from the public about where they're spending the money, how they should be spending it. I think the interesting thing, other than the fact that, you know, I'm sure people are interested in where money on crime is being spent, it's this, you know, we have to do it as a local authority, that how much consultation does the public really want, or would they say, we've got elected councillors, we've got elected police commissioners, can you get on with it? Because obviously every time there is a consultation it costs the public purse some money, but if you don't ask people, they'll then say, we haven't asked us. I think it's a difficult balance, and obviously with the Police and Crime Commissioner, he's looking at finding out. We're going to be doing the same in terms of our budget, setting out what do people want the council, what do people want the Police Commissioner to spend money on, and it's a tricky call to get the balance.
It's one of those things as well where public opinion might not necessarily be the most scientific opinion. I know there's always a great controversy in policing, that the public always wants to see bobbies on the beat.
Yes.
And yet bobbies walking up and down the streets is not necessarily the most efficient and effective way of policing. There are other more useful things they could do that the public would prefer them not to be doing.
Yes, I think that's right, and it's a difficult thing, you know. I think the balance with, as you say, with the police about the bobbies on the beat, the new technology, how do they use it, how do they combat crime, and I think it's the usual thing with crime. As soon as you find a way of solving a crime, the criminal will move on and come up with some other idea as to how to try and get away with things. So I think it is a very tricky balance, and obviously, like you say, not every member of the public wants to be consulted, and not every member of the public will give his or her opinion. Therefore, how much credence do you give to the consultation, which might only appeal to certain people who want to have their say?
I noticed another detail in that story. The Commissioner, Alan Hardwick, I wasn't sure whether he was regretful or boasting when he said that the Lincolnshire Police Force takes less money from central government than most of the other police forces in the country do. Now, in some ways, thank you very much for relieving of our tax burden, but in other ways, isn't his job to get down there to Westminster, thump the table and say, give us more cash?
It is, or it may just be Mr Hardwick facing the realities of that's what you've been given and that's the figure, and if it's a big figure you say thank you very much, if it's a low figure you say well we're doing ever so well because we're not getting as much money. So I think it's a difficult job being a police and crime commissioner. I think it's something that the public didn't appear to support in the way they voted, and you know, I know some parties have talked about possibly not having them if they're successful in the general election. I think it's been a very, very difficult first few years for police and crime commissioners.
Well, I'll be interviewing Alan Hardwick on Hot Topic in a few weeks' time, so I'll put those questions to him then. What else have you got?
A dog which helps with young children with reading difficulties in Hull. Isle of a Dog. You wouldn't have thought dogs would help with reading, but apparently
it's not obvious, is it?
It's not, no. And the dog doesn't bark at every the or ah. What he does is he creates a calm atmosphere. He puts his paw on the pages just to calm children down. And I suppose, you know, trying to get young kids to read must be difficult if they're not interested, if they're a bit scared of it, etc., etc. And I think, you know, somebody has come up with a very novel idea about how to help children. And I would say anything that helps kids with problems reading should be welcomed.
One of the points there that the controllers of this dog make is that unlike teachers or parents, dogs don't correct you when you get it wrong, and that's one of the things that puts students off. And I remember teachers and parents who used to infuriate me by correcting me when I got things wrong. In fact, they still do. But reading to a dog is much more relaxing and much more rewarding.
It is, and I don't think a dog would get a stick and smack you across the hand or tell you throw a blackboard rubber at you. It used to happen when I was a young man.
Much tougher education than I did. Another point is that it helps people who have English as a second language.
Yes, I think it does, because, you know, dogs are, and it's a small dog, it's obviously quite a calm dog itself, and I think, you know, trying to learn English as a second language when you're a young person must be extremely difficult. You'll have all sorts of other draws on your concentration, and I take my hat off to the people who have developed it with the school. I think it's a terrific idea, and hopefully it helps some young children.
It's very ingenious, isn't it? Shall we have another quick look at another one?
Yes, I mean, there's been an awful lot in North East Lincolnshire about skint, which I know has been covered on Estuary. And I think it's the other side. The Grimsby Telegraph have covered the Grimsby Community Awards, which I think look at some of the unsung heroes, some of the real community people. And I think it's a very good antidote to skint. There are some fantastic things going on in the Grimsby area within the community, largely driven by the community themselves. And I think for them to get some recognition in this way, I think it does help with the community spirit, and that there is some amazing work going on in and around the North East Lincolnshire area.
And what's the council's response to skint? It's been quite quiet, hasn't it?
Yes, I think the council leader and the deputy have been on television, and they have said it's an unfortunate voyeuristic view of a group of people who have some difficult challenges.
We'll come back to that in a moment. Ian's staying with us to have another look at some more of the newspapers in a moment. But in another new weekly feature, we talk to the region's mayors to find out where they're going. This week, it's the Lord Mayor of Hull, Mary Glue.
On Monday the 1st of December, there's the City Hall Festival of Carols. Now that's been going on, I'm opening the event. It's been going on for the last 50 years, and 30 schools are entertaining us at the City Hall, and I'm really looking forward to that. Festival of Carols. It's like the start of Christmas, really, for lots of people. There is the Christmas Post going down to Royal Mail on Thursday the 4th of December, and meeting people who deliver the Christmas Post and saying thank you to them.
Thank you, Mary Glue. Back to the paper's review, and Ian Lovell from North East Lincolnshire Council is joining me for a few more stories. Ian, you found a Lincolnshire story here, which I think made the national headlines as well.
It did indeed. This is a Market Raisin Mail. It's a school from Middle Raisin, which is obviously a very good school, gets an excellent Ofsted report. Got slightly criticised, basically because it said it must do more to be multicultural. You know, we live in these times where that was then jumped upon by different members of the press, the political glitterati. And I think this poor old school, which is probably doing a terrific job for its kids, has now been dragged into a political correctness row. And they have had to issue a further statement to Ofsted to say, we take on board what you've said, we're going to link up, I think, with an inner city school. But I think it's a little bit unfortunate, you know, the school is in a place where there's not a lot of different cultures. It's a tricky call, because the school otherwise I think is a pretty outstanding school from what Ofsted said.
Well, it's a tough criticism to make, isn't it? Because if you're a school in a place where in one of the whitest parts of the country, the Vikings came here and turned around and went back to Sweden, it was so white. You come to the whitest parts of the country and then accuse the school of being at fault because it's not exposing its pupils to non-white cultures, non-white people, non-white ways of thinking, and that sophistication and metropolitan aspect that you might find in other parts of the country. Then what are you going to say? Everybody's got to get up and move 100 miles to the west to find a big city.
You know, or do you say, well, actually what we'll do is we'll bring some people in so you can see some different... And it's almost then becomes the issue instead of the school and its ethos and how it teaches its children.
Well, it becomes reminiscent of 1950s America in the southern states with school busing, and except rather than busing people across town so that they can be in mixed schools, it's a sort of it's slightly objectifying, isn't it? It's busing people from Lincolnshire to a city and pointing and saying, look, this is what people who aren't like you look like,
and
which is
you
rather condescending.
It is, and I think you would certainly hope in these days that, you know, the kids will clearly know about other cultures. They watch television, they see it with the parents, etc., etc. And I just think it was maybe a political point being made by certain people
in
Ofsted who wanted to highlight an issue, and it's just been picked up. And I just think it's very unfortunate, because the school is clearly a good school for its pupils.
On the other hand, we've always got to be suspicious if people start shouting political correctness gone mad. You always wonder quite what the agenda is behind that as well.
Yes, and I think the political correctness agenda will take up a whole new world in the new year as we get closer to an election.
I've never quite been. Political correctness started off in the 80s in American universities, where it came dangerously close to censorship. But since then, I've never found it very easy to tell the difference between political correctness and good manners.
Yes, and I also think it depends. One person's political correctness is another person's issue.
What else have we found in the papers?
Ironically, we had Black Friday this week, where the World and his wife were going out to buy everything from supermarkets, etc., etc. Piece in the Grimsby Telegraph. The council's trading standards people who do a lot of good work, telling people to be a little bit aware about some bargains, as they put it. You know, some things that you might pick up for Christmas and you think, oh, that's a terrific thing on a car boot, etc., etc., particularly with electrical goods. Sometimes if it sounds too good, it is too good. And, you know, I think it's one thing buying things from supermarkets, etc., where you've got your guarantee, you can go back. But I think, you know, our trading standards guys are saying, just be careful. When you're going out there, some of these things might not seem all that they can. And I think as we get closer to Christmas, you know, cash is a bit tight. People will think, oh, actually, that seems ever so cheap. I'll go and buy it. And I think sometimes it can backfire pretty badly.
This Black Friday idea, it's quite a new thing in this country, isn't it?
It is. Again, it's a personal view. I think it's ridiculous. Why not just wait till Boxing Day when they'll have another 30% off anyway?
Because that's a little bit too late to buy Christmas presents, Ian, I imagine.
Oh, IOUs.
Do you buy Christmas presents on the 26th of December for the next year's Christmas, do you?
Buy Christmas presents with my family? Oh, you must be joking.
Why is it that this American thing's come over there? I mean, it's
I don't know.
The whole point is it's the marketing day immediately after Thanksgiving. Well, Thanksgiving's a uniquely North American festival.
I think it's obviously an advertising ploy by companies, and as ever with Britain, where America goes, we follow. And you're not going to get the companies themselves saying you shouldn't do. Please don't come to my shop on Black Friday. They're going to try and make something of it, and I quite frankly, I find it ridiculous. Why not just go out and look for a bargain at any time?
One more story, very quickly, I think.
Yes, we've got the story in Skegness, in the Skegness Standard. And it's a little tale about a girl from the area who went down to be a political researcher. And I think she found some change. And I think what it does open is a little bit about how you try and get young people interested in politics.
Always difficult, yep.
You know, there's various things going off to try and engage people. And I think what was clear from the Scottish referendum was that if the issue is important enough,
young people
they
want to
will
get
vote.
Involved.
They will
Ian,
vote.
I have to stop you there. Thank you so much for coming in and reviewing the newspapers. Hope to see you again soon. Horse riding is seen as a leisure pursuit, and there are just under 1 million horses in the United Kingdom. Many horse riders have no option but to ride on busy roads. Riders locally are asking motorists to be considerate and understand the dangers. Richard Morris went to Grimsby to find out more.
Local horse riders and owners are urging drivers to take extra care around horses, especially during the coming darker winter months. At the same time, local horse owners say that others need to be wearing high visibility clothing to give critical seconds to car drivers.
There's over 3 million horse riding accidents a year in the UK. The British Horse Society are collecting statistics and data, and if you go online on their website, you can report every horse riding related accident on the road and across the fields. A high vis is important for the horse because he doesn't choose to be on the road, you choose to take him on the road. His colour will often blend in with the trees, the houses and other objects around him. Okay, and it gives the driver an average of 3 seconds more to see you. And if you've got the high vis as well, if you get separated from him and you're laid in the middle of a field, the helicopter can see you and hopefully pick you up. Other people can hopefully pick you out in the middle of the grass or in the middle of the yellow oilseed rape if you wear orange instead of yellow.
To demonstrate the difference of not wearing high visibility clothing, Sally then wears no high vis clothing. The Grimsby Institute of Advanced Motorists relayed to us how to safely approach and pass horses and their riders.
Our advice would be the same for anything. As you're driving your car, we look at people identifying hazards on the road. That can be anything, but it can be horses. With it 1, 2, 3, 4 horses, whatever. We would treat them the same as you'd treat a pedestrian in the road, a cyclist in the road. You would slow down as you approach them, ensure that you had a clear view past and that they had plenty of time to know that you were actually there. Then when you've got past the people on the horses, invariably they'll put their hand up and say thank you very much for giving them space.
Now here's the sport with Dan Kemp.
In the Premier League, Hull City travel to Old Trafford tomorrow to take on Manchester United. The Tigers have been struggling as of late and sit 1 place and 1 point above the relegation zone. In contrast, Louis van Gaal's Red Devils sit 4th. Scunthorpe United are in action too. The Iron travel to Barnsley tomorrow and welcome new boys Alex Davey and Richard Brindley into the squad for the first time. Middlesbrough loanee Luke Williams is also set to feature for the first time since extending his loan until January the 3rd. Grimsby Town are at the Conference's bottom club Telford tomorrow. Coming off the back of the victory over Woking on Tuesday night, the Mariners could go just 3 points behind leaders Barnet with victory. And North Ferriby United are also taking to the field against Mickleover Sports in the 3rd qualifying round of the FA Trophy. The Villagers still without defender Danny Hone, who sits out the final game of his 3-match ban. The Villagers' opposition have won 13 of their last 16 games. Hull Kingston Rovers unveiled their new City of Culture themed away strip last night. It features the colours of the 2017 logo and is used to display the club's pride at the city being given the prestigious title. And finally, some more fixtures. The Hull Stingrays are back in action in the Elite League this week, and also Hull Ionians and Hull RUFC are in action too in Rugby Union. And that's all for the sport.
And that's it for this week. Please contact us the usual ways, estuary.tv, Twitter, Facebook, or give us a call on 01472 315561. Join me on Monday for more news from across the region.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. It's cloudy and grey again on Saturday, becoming drier after some patchy rain in the morning. Some brighter spells though later, light winds, maximum temperature of 9 degrees. It's a cloudy start on Sunday with fog patches, but brightening through the day, maximum temperature of 9 degrees.